My name is Richard Taylor-Kerr. I was one of the leaders on the Zambia trip, so I was only one of the leaders that wasn't employed by United Church. But I was the one looking after the money. And this trip our budget was $132,000. That includes the airfare and our accommodation in Zambia, and also money that we raised to give away to various projects in Zambia. So people ask, why did you go to Zambia? Was it a mission trip? Is it what did you build? And as we were just saying, we built relationships with the people in Zambia. Got to see how they lived and how they went to their church services, quite different, and basically went to schools and orphanages and then some elephant rides and that kind of stuff, some different touristy kind of things too. But it was quite interesting to see different life in Zambia.
My name is Evangeline Robertson. I'm Hannah's cousin, and I was one of the participants on the trip. I'm pretty sure you guys already know me.
My name is Amanda Sherwin, and I was a participant on the trip, and I'm in grade 12 right now.
So there were 16 youth, young adults, and 7 adults on the trip. So we had myself looking after money. Vicky was sort of the head coordinator of the trip. Tracy Robertson, who you all know, she was our spiritual leader, and we had my oldest son, Andrew Taylor-Kerr, was our nurse, basically our highest qualified first aider. Right? So he couldn't come as a nurse, but per se, but he in real life he is a nurse at the prison. And we had 3 youth leaders. So these T-shirts we're wearing are travel shirts, and so as someone said, we look like a complete watermelon. But it was, we would all wear the same shirt, as we were traveling through, from Canada to Zambia. So it was quite a long trip. We took a midnight flight from here to Toronto to Ethiopia, a bit of a stop in Zimbabwe for a couple minutes, and then on to Zambia. And then within Zambia, we still had another flight to go. So I think on the way over, it was like 34 hours of traveling. Ooh. So, and then on the way back, it was very similar. One flight was 16 hours. So it was a long time getting there. So you're through so many time zones, you didn't even know what time it was by the time we got there. So.
Okay, so like the first one, that's like right in the left corner. That's like when we were flying to Toronto. Like it was like the sunrise there, because it was like 2 hours ahead, right? So it was the sunrise. I was like, I don't want to look at the sun right now. I'm too tired for this. But like you can't sleep on airplanes. That's what I learned. Like it's impossible. And then like that's the airport up there in Toronto, the one on the top. And so like it was really big, but it was really cool. So like and then we went on our 16-hour flight to Ethiopia. So the one in the bottom left-hand corner is like the Ethiopian airport there. So like it's like divided by this like glass wall. So like if you go through customs, like that's the side that you would go onto. So like you would have more time to wait and then like get some food or something. So we were just on that side because we were getting on the next plane, I think, in the next 30 minutes. So like, we just waited there. And then the last photo on the bottom is our bus that we traveled in. It's kind of hard to see, like you can see like the top of the seats, but like it says like United Church of Zambia University Kitwe on the side. So like, we had to stuff all our luggage in the back and then like pile into these seats. And so, Oh yeah, and then we had a bus driver for like the whole trip. His name was Douglas. He was so awesome. Like he would always joke with us and be like, "Oh yeah, here is like this and then blah 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 about this place." And so he was really cool. And he was a student there, and he was a bus driver before, and then he became a student. So next slide please. Living on camp. Okay, so When we were there, we were living in these like dorms, and they're like little houses that you would have like 6 people in. You could have more than that, but how many were in the most house? I thought there was more than 6, but yeah, there's a lot of people that you can stuff into one place. So that's like my bed. So like I had like a net. We had to put a net for like the mosquitoes at night. Because like at night the malaria mosquitoes would come, so like you had to put our net up, and so yeah, so we slept in the net, and then we had all these like beds and stuff that they prepared for us. So I thought that was really nice, and then they had lots of crops there on the campus, and I think like some students farmed that and then sold that. I'm not exactly sure about that. Yeah, they had lots of cabbages, so we had like cabbage a lot. Yeah, like they had a whole like section for it, and they had like 20 cabbages. Like it was a lot. Oh yeah, so it was really nice there. So, you guys have anything else to say? Oh yeah, like for yeah, there was some plumbing problems while we were there. So like in me and Evangeline's house. There was like, the toilet didn't really work, so we had an issue with that. And then our shower did not work at all, so like, we had to like not shower for a few days. So, and when you just come up for traveling, it's like, you're really gross, so.
All the rooms, we didn't have hot water. I'm not sure why we didn't have hot water, but for the 2 weeks we didn't have hot water. So it was cool water. It wasn't freezing cold, whatever, but and I think 2 of the buildings we didn't have showers, but we just had a bathtub. So bathing included a plastic tub in the bathtub, and basically you just bath from there. And that's how we managed for 2 weeks. It was like camping. So.
And then some of us who did have showers would help other people who did not, and then they'd come over to our little cabins and share our shower. Like they'll take a shower when we're not, and yeah.
Yeah, so like the money that was there, like I know like you handled all the money, so.
So the conversion for the money was for Canadian was 7 to 1. So if you had $100 Canadian, it'd be 700 kwacha. But we were dealing always in US because we took US over everything there. That was the other currency you could use was US, but you're always converting to kwacha. So our bill at the university, I think, was just over about 11,000 US for the 2 weeks. Not that bad for 23 people, but we had to pay. We paid a good portion of it right off, and so I had 80,000 kwacha, and it just filled the table. It was just stacks and stacks and stacks of money. But it just looked like you were incredibly wealthy. But you go to the bank and withdraw equivalent of $600 Canadian, and my pockets were filled with because the largest bill you could get was 100 kwacha. So it just added up. So they would give it to you in big stacks.
Okay, so like there's a lot of different plants there that you would never see here. Like it was so cool. So like they had a banana tree on campus. So like you would see like these bananas like ripening, and it was really cool. So like you see the banana tree like right in the left top corner right there. But like you know how like in like cartoons or whatever, like banana trees are really tall. Like these trees were like as tall as me. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of smaller than I was expecting, but it was okay. It was really cool to see like banana farms because there would be a whole bunch of tiny trees with like big bananas on there. So yeah, and then there's lots of plants. They had like papaya trees, so they had like papayas, like huge papayas with these like really small leaves. So like that's this picture right here, and then like it was really cool because like everyone had a papaya tree, and so it was like, oh yeah, I got papayas. Like yeah, I just dropped in my yard this morning. So and then they had like the tree on the bottom left-hand corner. Like these trees were like really big, but they never had any leaves. But like if you looked really closely at like the top of like the branches, they had these like really pretty flowers. And I was like, it was so nice. So yeah. Okay. So these are some of the churches that we went to. So these two pictures on the side, these are from the church that me, Amanda, Andrew Nicholson, and you, Evangeline, and then Tracy went to. So that's where they blessed the benches. This is where they blessed the benches. And then, yeah, so we were there. And then we had like chapel, like morning chapel, so we would have to like go to a certain area and like do like a little worship thing in the morning. So one of the mornings we went to this church, and then like, you know, they had like songs and stuff like that. And like, so they gave us songbooks, so we got to like read along, but it was like hard to interpret because it wasn't like English, but yeah, it was in Bembe, so like that's like the native language of the tribe there, so like it was kind of hard to understand, but like yeah, so that's actually a video of them singing if you want to play that then.
So we had chapel every morning, so we were up at chapel by 6:15. Chapel was on the university campus, and then we'd have breakfast by 7. So in that part of Zambia, the sun is up by about 6:30, and it's down by about 6 o'clock. So you know, then so it's quite funny. You're heading to chapel, and it's kind of that's something I remember too from the church service I went to, is that the music was amazing, and there music throughout the service. You couldn't understand what they were saying, but it was very beautiful music.
Yeah, like when they were singing, like even if you were just like walking outside in the morning, you could hear like faint like songs like just in the morning, and you'd be like, oh, this church, it's chapel in the morning. And then like, did you hear like the drums and stuff that they were playing? So like they would have these like gigantic drums, and they would just like hit it. Yeah. There were tambourines and everything, and then yeah, so. It's cool. Went to race course school. There's like a whole bunch of teachers that we met with. So like that's the top two pictures. We were just talking with the teachers and like asking them what they did and like what they taught and stuff like that. So that was one of the classrooms too, one of the 4 I think that they had. So yeah. And then,
So Racecourse School is a school of 1,800 students. They're orphans or vulnerable youth, and so typically in Zambia, you have to have a school uniform, and education is free. But if you don't, in this case, these children can't afford a uniform, so they can't go to school. So Racecourse School is actually there's a foundation, Racecourse School Foundation, through a church in Edmonton that supports this school, provides money to them. But like I say, there's 1,800 youth from, I think it was from grade 1 to 4 to 9. Okay, it was overwhelming to go onto this schoolyard because the kids were just right there in your face, and I've never shaken so many hands in my life as going through that schoolyard, and they were just you take a picture of them, and then there'd be 10 more that wanted the picture taken, and with the youth, they were just surrounding them. There was no regard for personal space. They were just right at us, like, you know, and it was you know, that was one of our first days. It was quite hard to get used to, but to realize that there's 1,800 youth, and I think there was like 6 classrooms, no guests in the classroom. A lot of the classes were held outside, so very, very rustic kind of facilities. So I'm not sure how they learn, but they did have some science experiments going on outside in one of the fields and stuff. And the one time you guys showed up, they were in a class outside the school. Washroom facilities at the school was a series of outhouses, 2 for the boys, 2 for the girls, and 2 for the teachers. And they were very, very rustic. And for 1,800 people, it was amazing. It's just totally different from than our standards. So.
Hot? Is it hot right now?
When we were there, it was about 25, 28 degrees. Yeah, it was colder than it was in Calgary, but it was cool at night. But during the day, it could get up to be, you know, maybe 25, 28. But I think because we were never in air conditioning, we got used to it quite quickly. So, you know, we didn't have that drastic temperature change.
Do they feed the children lunch or anything, or how do they?
I don't think so. No, there was no facility for that, so I'm not sure what they did. So.
Pretty sure they
So we went to racecourse school twice, and on the second time we played soccer there. So behind the school they just have like a big open field, and we just kind of went back there, and then suddenly all the kids spread out around the side and made like boundaries for the field, and then they put up these like sticks to make a net. And so then there was one game where our leaders played against their teachers, and then our youth played against the kids from the school, and that was a lot of fun, and they were very good. But I think we only lost by like 2 or 3 points, which was a lot better than I thought we were gonna do.
Yeah. There's a video of the kids singing at the school. So that's like on the first day they like greeted us with songs. So like this is them singing.